Hi, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the continuation of our lecture. So in our previous lecture, we explore the SSPs, all right? The SSPs, that's the shared social economic pathways, all right? Shared social economic pathways. We argued that the IPCC framework has developed the latest assessment report, and that assessment report is called AR6, AR number 6. And within the AR number 6, there are 5 shared socio-economic pathways, that is SSP. There are 5 different SSPs, and every SSP represents a climate scenario, a plausible future. That is our loved language, right? Plausible futures, plausible futures, plausible climate futures. Great, great. So every SSP stands for one plausible future. Let's say plausible future. And we have discussed SSP1, SSP2, and SSP3. Now, we are going to look at SSP4. All right. Now, the SSP4 is another pessimistic stand or pessimistic plausible future. Yes, SSP3 is pessimistic. SSP4 is very pessimistic. Okay. Yeah, in English language, when we say we use the degree to qualify, they're both adjectives. Yeah, very good. Yeah. So the adjective. So it's very pessimistic. It is pessimistic and then very pessimistic. So it tells you the degree of intensity of how pessimistic these two are. SSP is just pessimistic. SSP3, beg your pardon. SSP3 is just pessimistic. Then SSP4 is very pessimistic. Now, when we say pessimistic, it means that we are expressing negative anticipation about the future of the world as far as climate change and global warming are concerned. All right? We anticipate that the global warming will rise or will escalate even more and become worse. All right? Under this pathway called SSP4. It is called the road divided. The road divided because the amount of inequality among countries will be very huge, massive. All right? There will be massive inequality across nations of the world. That is the assumption here. And global temperatures will escalate to 3.5 degrees. Okay? Temperatures will escalate above the SSP3 temperature. Please remember, I told you that you should not forget the temperature under each SSP. All right? Because these temperatures are going to be your anchors, that you will anchor your climate risk modeling upon. All right? You could simply use the temperatures as your scenarios instead of writing SSP1, SSP2. You could simply say 1.5 degrees Celsius as a scenario and 2.5 degrees Celsius as a scenario and 4 or 3.5 degrees Celsius as a scenario instead of writing SSP4, SSP1, SSP3. You get me? Exactly. So that's it. So it's very important and vital that you don't forget the temperature, what the average global temperature will be under each of these SSPs, which is a scenario, a plausible climate future we are looking at. All right? Yeah. So temperatures inequality is going to be extremely high, and then global temperatures will escalate to 3.5 degrees. So these are the two major characteristics that I really want you to hold on to. And then here, nations, there will be a wave of nationalism, nationalistic government will arise and they will jettison or even pull out of the global climate agreement, like the Paris Agreement. One of the countries in the world has even jettisoned or denounced their membership. I think the United States of America, the US, under Donald Trump, has denounced their membership of the Paris Climate Change Agreement. Okay, so that's what we are expecting under this SSP4, that there will be a lot more of those nationalistic governments that we jettison or denounce their prior commitment to climate agreements and climate policy guidance, or deals they have signed in the past to work with other countries to combat climate change. They will denounce such agreements or renege on them. All right, good. So you're going to have more of that happening under SSP4, and because of that, there will be no controls or checks or adaptation strategy or strong cooperation among nations to fight or combat global warming. So temperatures will rise to 3.5 degrees. That's it. Yeah. Then finally, SSP5. So SSP5 is called the fossil fuel development or highway. Here is optimistic. Yeah. Here is optimistic. It's optimistic because inequality is going to be reduced due to rapid economic growth. There will be rapid economic growth in GDP. You know what GDP means? All right, we know GDP. What do you call it? Gross national product. Yeah, gross domestic product. Yeah, gross domestic product. GDP, gross domestic product. That is the monetary value of all the goods and services produced in the country in a given year. That is GDP, gross domestic product. So it represents economic growth and development, all right, in this context. So there will be rapid growth in GDP, that is the economic development and growth will grow rapidly. And because of that, many nations will enjoy prosperity and the inequalities among nations will be reduced. That's why we say it's optimistic, all right? There will be prosperity and there will be even distribution of this growth of the prosperity. So poverty will be reduced across nations, and many even developing nations or underdeveloped nations, we have increasing number of millionaires, which means who will become wealthy, and poverty and inequalities among nations will be reduced. So that is SSP 5. However, this rapid economic growth will be driven or fueled by the use of carbon fuels. All right, there will be high energy usage to drive the economic growth, the rapid economic growth. And this high energy usage will be predominantly carbon energy, like coal, power generation from coal, electricity generation from coal, gases, and the carbon energy, diesel, fuels, all of these carbon intensive energy sources. There will be the main driver or enabler of the rapid economic growth under this pathway SSP 5. Consequently, there will be high emission. Emission will be very high, all right? There will be very high emission. And because there's very high emission, there will be a high temperature. Global temperatures will rise to the record-breaking height of 4 degrees. All right, 4 degrees, ladies and gentlemen. There will be no hiding place for anybody on earth. Everybody will feel the heat of the sun, all right? There will be no hiding place. Even in our rooms and inside our shelters, there will be no hiding place. That's what it means to have a global average temperature to get to this level of 4 degrees, ladies and gentlemen. This will be horrendously painful for humanity, okay? But this is a scenario. A possible future scenario, according to the IPCC. Yeah, according to IPCC, yes, this is a possible scenario climate scenario, a plausible future. And you are going to be using one of them. All right. You'll be using at least 3, ladies and gentlemen. When we go to the protocol, you will see. We will not use all of these to build our case company climate scenario. We're not going to do that. That would be clumsy and too much. What IFRS S2 and TCFD say you can do, or the company should do, is to pick at least 3 plausible futures. All right, pick at least 3 pathways, 3 shared socioeconomic pathways. So we can pick 1, 2, and 5, or we might pick 1, 3, and 5. Is that clear? So we could pick all of these, but you're going to see how we're going to select 3 scenarios from the IPCC, all right, SSP, and we can use these as the pillar to build the case company Boeing Corporation climate scenario, all right, for disclosure and inclusion into the strategy at Boeing, all right, and financial reporting at Boeing, and sustainability reporting at Boeing. So you see that your one climate scenario you have built for Boeing is serving multiple critical purposes. It's serving the management by helping them, and directors by helping them in strategy formulation to fine-tune the strategy to adapt and build resilience towards what is coming ahead in terms of global warming and the catastrophic impact of climate change on the business. It is also helping them to comply with the regulatory requirement, which is to report under IFRS S2 sustainability, and then to also comply with their sustainability and ESG reporting. All right. So it's a massive value that it brings to the company. And any company that does not have a climate scenario has to begin to create it now. It's very, very important, because you cannot be able to effectively demonstrate your adoption or adaptation to climate change or management of the climate risk or building climate resilience if you don't have a viable climate scenario. As an organization, you need to have it, a climate scenario, a viable one that will form the bedrock for your strategy formulation going into that long-term future. We also form the bedrock for your financial reporting according to IFRS S2. It will also form the bedrock for your discretionary reporting under ESG and sustainability reporting, which is still discretionary in some countries and jurisdictions, except in Europe right now, where it is no longer discretionary but mandatory under the corporate sustainability reporting directives in the European Union. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for your time, for your commitment, for learning with me these IPCC shared socioeconomic pathways. I believe you understand them now and understand the characteristics under SSP1, SSP2, SSP3, SSP4, and SSP5. This is an absolute exhaustive introduction into IPCC scenarios. When we come back from the break, we're going to hit the ground applying all of this into our practice company, case company. Thank you. Bye.